God steps up as sovereign. See, this is why we need apostles. These sovereign officers to move sovereignly on God's behalf. We say that apostles are just sent ones to do what? To have authority, to be a sovereign, sent on behalf of a sovereign. Dr. Price has taught many times over, when you send your kids to the store all the time, it does not make them an apostle. We have grossly diminished the definition of this office. Hallelujah. Lord, you're worthy. And God, you're moving. Move, Lord, move. We still are moving. Move, God, move.
Yes, yes.
Lord, move. Lord, move. Yes. Well, let that work be done. And let it be so this day. Amen. We'll praise the matchless name of Jesus. Hallelujah. Come on and give God a praise. Give God a praise. The Almighty God, the Most High God, you remember him, right? Okay. So we're on our journey. I'm going to wrap up what we started last week about why do you want an apostle in your life? Yes. Right? That's a question people want to know. Well, why go to an apostolic church? You know why you go to a church of evangelical church or missions? Because you have a passion to reach the nations for Jesus Christ. That's why you connect with a church that is evangelical for outreach to win the lost. Okay, so after we won the lost, and we brought them into the house, what other types of churches are there? So when we're dealing with apostles, guess what? Apostles win the lost too. We have altar calls too. We lay hands on the sick and cast out devils too. We should be doing it the most. According to the apostles' example that was set before us, Jesus Christ walked all up in the apostle or the demonic realm as an apostle. And taught his apostles to do the same. First, you must arrest their devils. And then we can talk salvation once we remove the devils out of the way. Too many people just add salvation to the mix. Last week we said that what? Apostles are the role model of Jesus Christ. Now we all should be reflected in certain ways. But apostles walk in that sovereign realm. And so this lesson is to identify the advantages of having an apostle in your life and to define the authority of the apostle's mantle. It's so sad that we have taken authority and turned it into disciplinarian. Well, oh, you gonna go to an apostle church, you know you can't play. Okay, well, I'm thinking in any church you really should be able to play around and sin freely. That's right. That's kind of the idea of coming to a church, right? So what's different? We have brought this thing down to apostles being disciplinarians. Well, you know, you can't do that because apostles won't be on your neck. And you can't do that because apostles so-and-so. And we brought it down just like hard-line parenting. Yes. Instead of sovereign authority. Amen. Come on. We discipline devils. We arrest devils. Now, if your flesh happens to be entertaining devils, then you're going to get whooped too. You know, it's like if you're in the vicinity of your sibling getting caught up in a corrective measure, you get over here. You were with them. But I didn't do it. But you didn't stop them. So you're going to get to the man. But we discipline devils. We go into that realm and we run roughshod over them first. We're not supposed to deal with the flesh first. We're supposed to deal with the demonics behind all of that. Again, what apostles do? Did they not do it? Scripture. The reason we are confused now is because we moved off of our scriptural foundation. Just like with prophets. I need a prophet because I need a cotton candy word. Well, but that's not what the office was made for. Just like young with teenagers and adolescents who think getting pregnant is fun because it's a baby and it's somebody to love and love me back. We've all seen it, right? TV. I've known people in my youth like that. It just, I just want somebody to love me. How do you get a goldfish? Get a dog. Kitten. Gerbil? Hamster. Something you can put in a cage, put on a leash, whatever. But don't have a baby for that. That's your fantasy about what bearing children is all about. That's not reality. And we have moved into fantasy on so many things in these offices that we don't really know what they're for anymore. How many apostles are walking around in the office of apostle and really don't know? They really don't know. So they are a disciplinarian because that's either the definition that they have inherited from someone else or that's just what they figured out. So why have an apostle? So we're not talking about just somebody running around with the title. We're talking about what Jesus Christ set in motion, and as we addressed in chapter 1, never stopped. He did not retire the apostle. And only in the church do we think that any founding office is gone. In business, CEO is an office across the board. You're the CEO of a veterinary clinic. You're the CEO of a pet store. You're the CEO of a Fortune 500. You're the CEO. See, the office follows the institution no matter where it goes. We shut down offices like lights in our house. Right. Well, we're not in the living room, so why are the lights on? Like, that's how we treat these offices. Well, we're not dealing with the prophetic, so we're just going to shut that off and close the door. Right. And guess what? The lights went out. We're not going to deal with apostles, we're going to deal with bishops. So, no. So we're just going to shut off the lights and close the door. Boom. You can only live successfully in your house so long without the kitchen.
That's right. Come on.
Let's talk about that washer and dryer. And let us not forget the bathroom. If you had to pick 3 rooms that you need to function in your house, the kitchen, the laundry room, nook or corner, whatever it is, and the bathroom are probably the top 3 you need to have running. Yeah, bathroom. We need a bathroom. Okay? We don't, and those are not just the highest functioning, but those are the ones that come against most of the opposition that we face in life. Yes. Bodily decay. We need a bathroom. Shower and toilet. Don't give me a half bath. Come on. I need a whole bath. Room. That's right. Kitchen to sustain you from starving and to sanitize and sanctify your food so it doesn't poison you, so you can cook it, keep it refrigerated so it doesn't go bad. The laundry room, oh praise him. Do we need to even get into that? We need all those things. I just want the playroom. No, you can live without the playroom. No, I can't. Oh yes, you can. You can live without a television. It is not preferred in our country. It's almost poverty. What? Yeah, I am oppressed. I don't have cable. I am oppressed. We feel like we are living in oppression without a satellite access to something. But it's still a luxury. As we say now, first world problem. It's a first world problem. I only have 1 television. Oh, that's a first world problem. We only have 2 DVRs. Yeah, that's a first world problem. That's right. Okay? We have made so many things a necessity in our world that are not. That's true. Likewise, we've done it in the church. We have said that we need so many things that actually we don't need. And the things that we do need, we have shut off. Yeah. So we have shut off these vital offices. Wow. That's good. Like they're the den in the playroom. We have it completely inverted. We went through some of these terms: proprietary, steward, stronghold, and principality. Today we're going to hone on stronghold and principality because you need to know that God in heaven has allotted people on earth to move in his name. Those are apostles. Now we're talking about the highest delegated authority. It's delegated on down the line. But apostles move in the first level of authority from God. Just like our ambassadors, we talked about this in other nations, are the highest level authority of our nation or any other nation in that land. When you cross the border of the address of the embassy, you are in that country. That building is in your land, but all of a sudden you have stepped into another nation. You need permission to go. You just can't walk up into an embassy just like you can't walk into another country. You need a passport, you need papers, you need to show you belong there, you have to pass through security. I've never been in another embassy, but I'm assuming that's kind of how it goes. You need to be authorized to even go in to an embassy. The ambassador has the delegated authority from the sending nation. So the apostle, which is why Jesus Christ could arrest those devils in ways that nobody else could before he walked on the planet, the apostle's mantle. We didn't start talking about arresting devils and casting out devils until then, right?
Right.
Before Jesus died, he was teaching his apostles this. This is the next dimension. This is the office that is going to keep this thing in check. Once I leave and do what I must do quickly. The apostles are supposed to regulate on wickedness. Regulate, not just pray about it. Regulate.
Well,
What does regulations look like? What does that look like when you regulate on somebody? Just shout out something. Enforcement. What was it? Rules. What else?
To bring certainty, otherwise there will be none.
To bring certainty, unless there will be none. Everybody knows the leader that you can goof off around. You know, oh, that's so-and-so. It could be a teacher in school. We all have one. Or three. Whatever. And then there's that one that everybody knows. Don't play with that leader. Don't play with that teacher. Grandparent. There's that one grandparent that's a pushover. And there's that set that isn't. You're like, man. And you know what kind of weekend you're going to have by which grandparent's house you go to. We're going to go to so-and-so. Yes. Don't have to make the bed. I can sleep all day. I can go in the refrigerator all night. Or you go to my mother's mother, my grandma, who recently passed. You know, no. Kids don't run the house here. No. You get up by a certain time. You make the bed before you come downstairs. Hi. Why? Because you're not going to go. See? Boom. Regulation. Regulate. Regular. Regulators keep you regular.
Okay.
There's a regular order. There's a routine in regulation.
Okay.
When you're with the regulator, you know no matter what, you're going to get the same thing, the same time, the same way, every time.
Yep.
Apostles are supposed to be those people in the planet. To regulate. Now see, you stepping out. Right, when Jesus was walking, those devils had to pray. Now see, you're acting up. You forgot I was here. Now they tried to kill him from the beginning because they knew when he came, it was over. The age-old nemesis that kicked him out of heaven has now come to earth. Whose idea was that? Apostles walking in their office are to execute the same kind of authority as Jesus Christ did. When an apostle is in a region, the spiritual climate should understand we have a problem. The powers of darkness do. When Dr. Price travels, she meets some devils in the air. And the powers of God. They have a meeting. I'm here. They all know each other. When you're doing your job, you all know each other. Just like in any corporate business, all the higher-ups know each other. Oh, yes, Bob. Oh, yeah. No. We go. Oh, yes, we go. But that's Kathy. Yeah, oh, let me get out. Okay. If you know who to push back on, Who to get out of the way, depending on how much clout and power you have. Right? And so, when a real apostle walking in their authority steps into a realm, when Dr. Price shows up, people say things like this: man, I have never praised God the way I praised when you were here. What does that mean? That means that her mantle pushed back the powers of darkness, and the presence and spirit and power of God could show up and do what he needed to do.
Amen.
We have people who would show up and say, Dr. Price, I ain't never preached like I preached in your church. Why? And they had, it's like, man, I was saying things I never said before. Revelation was popping. I need a recording of that teaching to take back with me to minister to myself later. Why? Because the resident heavenly hosts that sat in our church and accompanied her mantle opened them up, opened that realm up, that dimension up to them in a way they could never access before. Apostles open up the heavens. They open up the spirit realm of God so you can have an access point to God like you did not have before. Which is why when they're around, you feel superhuman. And you walk off thinking you did something and you remember. There are people who have walked with Dr. Price for years, did some powerful things with her as projects, and when they walked away, let me tell you, the brilliance stayed right here in the office. Here, because it's a resource, it's a tool, and like when you walk off your job, all the resources stay there. All the fat high-speed computers that you use to do your side work, stay there. The binders, the pens, the clips, the copying machine, all the things that you could do, stay right there. Okay, apostleship is one of the recurring instruments the Lord uses to confront turbulent periods in his church's history. We address this. We are in a turbulent period. When the apostles walked the planet, it was turbulent. Every man walking in the name of their God, working for their gods. You had economy like you do now. Hollywood is a huge economic stream for these other gods and for ours, but definitely for theirs. Promoting and pimping and selling and marketing their God so you'll buy into it. Bring it into your home. Bring it into your church. Bring it into your family line. Introduce addictions. Introduce rituals. Introduce dressing and clothing and all kinds of things to model these other gods. That's the game. We address proprietary, that apostles have proprietary authority and power and stewardship. Proprietary are these things, just as a review: branded, exclusive, patented, private, protective, territorial, and watchful. One that possesses, owns, or holds exclusive right to something as its proprietor. We have made apostleship about having rights to property. That's part of it. You need to take territory, definitely. But a lot of people who are not apostles own property. So that can't be it as the first measurement of apostleship. We know because when the church was founded, they didn't own any property. We talked about this last week. They had to come together because Jesus Christ, he was a new startup. Okay? Christianity was in its startup phase. We all do business on some level in here. He was in his startup. Okay. When you're in startup phase, that's different from established, is it not?
Yes.
You knocking on doors and hey, can you and can we buy? And everything is different when it's a startup. So they were starting this thing up in the earth realm, starting with the apostles, sending forth the strong man in flesh who had the authority to make what Jesus Christ birthed into the planet stay alive. Apostles are supposed to keep salvation, Christianity, alive in the earth. They were the guardians, the protectors of what Jesus started. So contemporary apostles, the job doesn't change. We are to guard and protect what Jesus Christ set in motion. We are responsible for it. Regulation. Proprietary authority. Exclusive authority. There is an authority exclusive to the apostles' office that is not given to the other offices. Which is why without these top two offices in particular, we have lost the church and we have lost the world. Because we removed the enforcers. We kept the parents. And we removed the police. We removed the Secret Service. We removed the high-end protectors of the land. So you can't be surprised when everybody eventually creeps into your neighborhood when they find out your defenses are down. When they find out your walls are down. Over time, they found out the church has lost its power. Oh, so we can send in subterfuge and we can send in this line of doctrine. We can raise up our own false pastors. We don't talk about false pastors.
Come on.
I mean, we're quick to talk about false prophets and false apostles. Can we talk about false pastors? False evangelists? False teachers? Every true has a false. If we have an antichrist,
come on here.
Okay? If Jesus Christ has competition in his name, so does every other office. So if we're going to talk about false offices, let's talk about everybody has a counterfeit.
That's a good word.
You know how many churches are propped up on false pastors?
Jesus.
Yes, it's true.
Folk running around looking like you don't even know what.
Yes.
You're coming out more of a hot mess than when you went in. That's a false ministry in the name of God.
Come on.
But you will know them by their fruit, right? You're not cleaning up your life, it's getting worse. You're not looking more like Christ, you're looking more like the world.
Come on.
You are a false ministry.
Okay.
Say it right.
Oh, preach. Come on there. I have a secret. Say
Okay?
Yes.
Say that.
It's like lip syncing. You find out you can't sing. What? Aren't you mad? Going through the motions. Sounding so good. And that thing goes on skip and you're like, what? Something crazy comes out the middle of a ministry. I have been duped and I'm mad about it. Fake. False. False. False pastors. We have false everything running around in the body of Christ. Because apostles are out of their place.
Well, Jesus.
Because can't nobody walk up in your church talking about, oh, this isn't God at all. Worship, everybody sit down. And they just start. Or they say, this is God, and this is where you need to be. But we have to have the regulators. You have to have the entire company manual to know when something is functioning properly or not. Well, I just don't like how my department is run. And you go run your house and you let me run this company. And we have taken our domestic opinions of church and made it the legislative authority that we move it on.
Okay. Come on.
Well, I just don't really like how God does it. I just don't think that he, oh, see? You start with, I just don't think that he, no. I need you to say, he said, he didn't say. Let's start here. Well, I just don't, where are we at with our country? I just don't think America should be a nation that determines who does and does not come in and out of its borders.
What?
I don't know why not. You determine who comes in and out of your personal border called your house. If we want to take this to the limit, let's walk this all the way out. Everybody can come in and out without any kind of regulation? Fine. Then we're going to take the locks off of your door,
That's it.
off of your car, and we're going to make copies of your keys so everybody can come and go as they please in your house unregulated.
Come on there.
Well, no, because that's my house.
Come on.
And
This your
it ain't your food. This is not taking to a place. Who ate my cornbread? I had that one piece left. Who ate that cornbread? Who ate it? Who's going to say it? Okay. Who ate that cornbread? I had that saved for Tuesday lunch. And you know, here you had it. We don't believe that's true. We do not believe in that at all.
Come on.
At all. Well, I just think that God is love. He wouldn't send anybody to hell. Well, the people who choose the pathway that leads to destruction are the ones who go. He honors your decision. You chose to live the life that is destined for doom and destruction, and he will not interfere because he's such a loving God. I love you so much, I'm not going to make you live my way if you don't want to. Actually, he loves himself so much. Nobody wants a child in the house who doesn't want to be there. I hate you. I hate the way you do. You know what? Get out. See, we don't believe half this stuff that we peddle on God. No, we're going to make God do it, and we're going to do it in our own home.
All right.
You're 15, you're going to your grandparents' house, because that is where you want to go. Get out. Don't come back asking for a car. Whenever nobody wants to take you to the game on Friday, don't come back. One day the words were forming on my lips. I'm sure they were telling Mother I hated her. She said, girlfriend, if it comes out your mouth, you can't take it back, first of all. And you will have to live for the rest of your life knowing you told me you hate me and you really don't. After I whoop your natural behind for saying that, I'm off the hook for everything. Because see, we don't do that here. You can't sound off your disapproval of my oversight of your life and then come back and tell me everything I need to do for you. So since you think you can do better, do it without me. You have those parents that make you think.
That's right.
I'm 14, so I can't get a job. So I need this allowance. I can't drive. So I need my mom to take me to school because I don't want to ride the bus. Okay, so we're going to rethink this thing altogether and maybe never revisit it again. And we walk around to see apostles who tell you, don't cross God like that. Don't cross him. Don't walk off telling him what he didn't do for you. That's probably not how you want this relationship to go. Because apostles, in order to have this kind of authority, have to be up and close with the man himself. We know that you have to have been visited by Jesus Christ. And we think that's a, hey, I'm Jesus, how you doing? You're my apostle. Ding. I have visited, you can check it off your list and go. Do we not? We just kind of leave it as a one-time encounter. Hey, big man, showed up to my door. Told me I'm on $20 million. Jesus Christ showed up. Sent up the apostle. And it's like a game show. But how many of you know when the highest power in the land shows up? It's a real thing. The hoop is showing up in my house. The what? I've been summoned where? You know, when powers summon you, you get really serious. And you get scared. And nervous. If you're smart. Why did my boss call me in his office? Look at me. Oh, yeah. Oh. But the boss, when you say the boss, do you mean Larry the supervisor? No, we mean Mr. Thompson. Ooh, you got the last name. Did he sound happy? Or sad? Or irritated when he said my name? I don't know, was it email? Was there a smiley face? Was there anything? I just need to know.
Yeah. Was there a smiley?
I don't know. They just sent me up here and say, so have you met with him before? I don't know. I've never seen this before. What? You can tell we don't consider God an authority because we get too tickled when he calls our name. Oh, God called me?
Come on now.
Why?
Come on.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for meeting me today. Like that was a choice. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for inviting me. You're not going to fire me, are you? That's the first question you always ask. Are you going to fire me? Well, no, I will use HR for that. Of course not. I don't need to invite you up to fire you. I have a proposition for you. I have an opportunity for you. I want you to oversee the setup of whatever. Wow. Oh my goodness. We're going to send you out, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. Initially, doesn't that sound amazing? There's going to be a pay raise, okay, benefits, whatever. Wow! There's just one catch. You won't ever have a life again. Huh? Well, you're actually going to be on this, so these things that you used to be able to do, you can't do anymore. But hey, this promotion comes with tremendous responsibilities. And you have to go home and think about that. Well, the thing about God is, we bypass that go home and think about it part because He's sovereign and not a democracy. This is what you're going to do. Now you get all these things. Woo, isn't that amazing? Wow. It's just going to cost you everything. We talked about stewardship, the activity or job of protecting and being responsible for something. Someone who protects or is responsible for money, property, etc. So the apostle is responsible for protecting this realm. This is why we are in trouble. Because apostles have not been on their posts. We have not been protecting our territory, protecting our church. First of all, the church is at odds. Anyway. Apostles settle and secure the Lord's church, which is where we left off. Scripture in history, in church history, tell us that apostles are especially built and outfitted to get the church through seasons of heinous assaults and to resettle it when its foundations are shaken and must be restored. How many of you know we are in a place of needing restoration? And we act like restoration is renewing a library card. Restore me, just like update me, just swipe this and then now it's gone. No. When something has been destroyed, it has to be restored. Brought back, revitalized, clothed, add some inventory. We're going to talk about the apostle being the stronghold. The parables recount how Jesus suddenly introduced himself as heaven's strong man, sent to earth to cast out the wicked spiritual strongholds that control the world's powers. So Jesus was what? Heaven's strong man. Which means if he is on the inside of us, we too are heaven's strong man. Do you think you're equipped to cast out wicked spiritual strongholds? We're trying to get everybody to church on Sunday. He can control the world's powers? Are you all paying attention this morning? As the Almighty sent one, the Messiah appeared on earth to cast out the god of this world. The parables, which we're going to go through, provide a good example of the weighty mantle the Lord puts upon his apostles. He heavily endues them because apostles are the Lord's chief defenders and the kingdom's equivalent of spiritual or principalic strongholds. This is out of our book. ABC's are on chapter 2. They are, that is, if they understood his issues with earth and the human experience. So we understand. Apostles are supposed to understand God's issues with earth and humanity. But apostles are not the only ones God depends on to defend his faith and protect his interests. The everyday saint, that's us. That's you. That's me. The everyday saint is expected to do so as well, which is why we need apostolic Christians. The apostolic ones are inherently most driven to do so. So an apostolic Christian, we discussed this in the first chapter, is the one who has the most innate instincts to defend God's honor. We said little kids up to adults. You can't talk about Jesus like that in kindergarten. Tearing it up, getting detention at 5. Why? Because they were talking about Jesus. They were taking his name in vain. That's your apostolic saint right there. All the way up to adulthood. So what is a stronghold? An area where most people have the same beliefs or values, etc. An area dominated by a particular group. We know by different parts of the country, we can say there's a witchcraft stronghold where in the country? Pacific West Coast, East Coast, Louisiana, or the strongholds. Now, people are everywhere, but there are areas considered strongholds. High concentration. Connecticut, high concentrations of not just people, but also the highest seating officers. Wherever they reside and the people with them, those are considered the strongholds. We have our, we talk about our mafia stronghold. Chicago, New York, okay, California. We have homosexual strongholds. San Francisco. Not just the whole state. I mean, the stronghold is a specific area too. So there is not just a large concentration, but it's also considered the center that keeps it generating in the land. When you have a stronghold, it keeps it going. It keeps it going. So San Francisco homosexual stronghold, that's their job, is to keep homosexuality going. To send people out from these witchcraft strongholds. They raise them up and send them out. That's their job. Where are our strongholds? A church stronghold in the nation. Tulsa is considered a church stronghold in the nation. Chicago is supposed to be the apostolic stronghold because of the number of apostles. However, the crime rate in that area would suggest there's a lack of power somewhere happening in that region. Okay?
That's it.
All right. So that's stronghold. A protected place where the members of a military group stay and can defend themselves against attacks. Also a stronghold. So where your strong men are is where your stronghold is. And your stronghold is a concentration of beliefs, but it's also where your muscle is. When things get crazy, people go back to the stronghold. An area where a particular type of uncommon animal can still be found. We have something that's about to be extinct. They take it to, we'll call it a reserve, but it's actually a stronghold. Yeah, okay. And then principality, we're going to go through this definition and then get into the scripture. Principality, an apostle is a principality, the state, office, or authority of a prince. That's kind of like, yeah, sure. Okay. The position or responsibilities of a principal. As in the school. Your principal is a principality. And let me tell you, they run those schools. The territory or jurisdiction of a prince, the country that gives title to a prince, is the principality. UK is a principality. An order of angels. So you see how apostles move in different varieties and variations through these levels of authority. Especially when we're dealing with the angelic principalities. Apostles are supposed to be dealing in that realm. Having visitations, knowing what's going on, what powers are moving in the earth, what powers are leaving, who God is setting up, who he's tearing down. Apostles are supposed to know that. That's why when they prophesy, they are not prophesying according to a feeling. Nope, but see, I saw that leader fall like lightning. I saw the spiritual powers that are backing them leave the planet. That's how I know they're going down. or I saw the spiritual powers come into the planet, that's how I know they're on the rise. Apostles are supposed to get the news first, people, not last. Kind of be good if our head of state gets the news first, not last, what's going on in this country, who's about to creep in. That'd be nice if you knew, since you have the authority to do something about it. Apostles get the news first. And they, in turn, set the prophets in motion. They set everybody in motion, giving them their marching orders based on what they got from heaven, from God's throne. Amen. We have made this so ethereal that it's just not real. Right? What are you talking about? These spiritual powers and orders? What? Huh? Right. Because we have so disconnected our training about who God is himself that people are unaware of how this entire realm is working. And it's in Scripture. It's all in the Bible. Ezekiel, hello, first chapter. He is talking about the vision, visitation, God, the will within the will. He's seeing the wings and the lion's face and the man and the this and the that. He is seeing all of these things. Moses on Mount Sinai. If you ever look at pictures of Mount Sinai, now, it is a real place, now, it's ginormous. And that mountain shook. Yeah, I'm afraid too. You go. Do you know how much smoke and fire and clouds have to come down to cover something of that magnitude? I'm telling you, go look at the pictures. I might have been down there with the crowd. I'm bold in my salvation in Tulsa. I don't know why people are at the foot of the mountain with God shaking everything. I'll be right here in this podium, excuse me. Tell me when he's gone. Oh boy. I mean, the power of God. We get in worship and you start to shake in your spirit and in your body when God really starts moving. Yes. The building hasn't moved yet. And he began to shake that mountain, which means they felt that thing for miles away. God moving and showing up, I am afraid. But guess who had to go on up? Moses, you go. Dr. Price, you go. Chelsea Gossett. So I went halfway, okay, tapping out, because see, this is getting really serious. Back in the day, when Brownsville had their revival, they would travel around and do a thing. We went to one of their conferences, and I'll tell you what, one of the ministers, I can't remember which one, was laying hands on people, and God was moving, okay? And his catching team, I have never seen anything like this, had to shake it off. Because God was moving so much that they could be taken out too with his power. And they had to shake it off to move and catch. And they were just moving through the room. Boom, 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 boom. Folk being delivered. Devils being cast out, rolling on the floor, hollering, the whole nine. And I was like, whoa. And so and the guy's talking and laying hands on his people. And the one lady's like, now come on, quit messing with me because I'm about to go down on this floor. And we have a job to do. But when God shows up, he shows up in his power with his apostles. That mountain shook when Moses was there. His high-level prophets. He shows up on a mountain when Elijah is there. High officials. His high powers show up for his high officials. That's how it goes. Because that's how it goes here. That's how it goes there. So we want the power of God. We want your power in the church once again. Lord, move. Revival. We don't have apostles. There will be no revival. A shake, a quake, because he inhabits the praises of his people. So he'll show up for a good praise. He'll show up for a good preach. But when you talk about moving in heaven, oh no, I need an apostle for that, because somebody has to regulate all of this. Right. And not turn it into a t-shirt fest. And a telethon fest. Showing all the world all God's goods. because we're so proud God is moving here. Put on every network. Show off, show off, show off.
Wow.
He tore him up in the upper room. Closed room session. See, apostles do more closed room than all this showcasing out here. Too many people want to take what God does and run with it. High officials know that's confidential. Well, how did God do that? That's confidential. Just know that he did. I once was blind, but now I see. That's all you need. That's all you need to know. Dad, how much money do you make in a year? That is none of your business. Just know that the bills are paid and clothes are on your back and food is in your stomach. That's all you need to know. The parental realm is the need to know. We need to know details. You need to know results.
All right.
Apostles know details. The saints know results.
Come on, come on.
Apostles know this. We were in a meeting where we saw where God called the lion spirit and sent him in the mouth of Ahab's prophet. That's how it all happened, okay? And all these prophets. What Ahab knew was the results.
Exactly. Come on.
Secret sauce was with the apostles. Okay, these are the three parables that she's addressing. Matthew 12:29, Mark 3:27, and Luke 11:21. That's in the second page of Unit 2. You can mark it either way. Matthew 12:29. I think that's actually Mark 4:27, because I don't think chapter 3 has 27. I'll have to look at that in just a second. Matthew 12:29. She talks about the parable is about a house divided cannot stand. You know, that's the title. But it says, I'm going to back up to verse 25. But Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. Which is what they're trying to do in this country, by the way, divide us so we just destroy ourselves. And every city or house divided against itself will not stand. If Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the Spirit of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you. Or how can one enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first what? Binds the strong man. And then he will plunder the house. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. So when you cast out people in the name of Jesus, in the name of God, they should know that Jesus has come upon them. We have too many people way too comfortable in the house of God in their sin. I'm like,
Say it right. Come on.
It's true. Oh yes, this is right. Mark 3:27. Here is the parable another way. Then the multitude came together again, so that they could not do so much as eat bread. And when his own people heard about this, they went out to lay hold of him, for they said, he is out of his mind. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, he has Beelzebub. Ted is saying Jesus is full of the devil, so you know folk gonna lie on you. All right. And by the ruler of the demons, he cast out demons. So they're saying he's casting out the devils in the name of a devil, of Beelzebub. So he called them to himself, and he said, come here. First of all, we don't have a meeting about this. How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but has an end. No one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man, and then he plunders his house. All right, so that's the second one. And then Luke 11:21. And we'll start at verse 14. And he was casting out a demon, and it was mute. So it was when the demon had gone out that the mute spoke, and the multitudes marveled, because you know all these infirmities are spirits. So there's your proof in Scripture when somebody said, why are you saying everything's a spirit and the devil? Because it is. But Scripture shows us that it is. All right, he cast out the mute spirit, and they spoke. And some of them said, he cast out demons by Beelzebub, the ruler of the demons. Others, testing him, sought from him a sign from heaven. But he, knowing their thoughts, said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falls. If Satan also is divided against himself, how will his kingdom stand? Because you say, I cast out demons by Beelzebub. And if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore they will be your judges. But if I cast out demons with the finger of God, surely the kingdom of God has come upon you. First of all, he just has to do this. Pink. Then when a strong man, fully armed, see, we're not talking about a house anymore, we're talking about a palace, guards his own palace, his goods are in peace. But when a stronger man than he comes upon him and overcomes him, he takes from him all his armor in which he trusted and divides his spoils. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters. So Jesus came as the stronger man with the finger of God. Just the finger, not even the fist. You don't even need a fistful of God. To cast out your devils. But you need the finger of God to cast them out. I'm not casting devils out in the name of devils because, hey, they just couldn't believe, wouldn't believe, or did not want to accept or have it spread abroad that Jesus Christ had done it. God in the flesh. We are in trouble. It's not a game. It wasn't an antic. It wasn't a show where someone fell out pretending. Man. Okay, you roll with Dr. Price a long time. She'll start praying for someone, they go out. Get up. I know God didn't move yet because he didn't move through me. I know when his power moves through me, ain't nothing happened yet. Get up. Conditioning. Wow. Games. Those of you in here, anybody roll with us? Get up on your feet. Stand up, stand up. God hasn't moved yet. Where are you going? I'm like, oh, wow, that's all right. She said, I know how God moves through me. Just like you pull away from a gas pump before you filled up. But the gas didn't move through the pump yet. Where are you going? You're on E. You are not filled up with gasoline yet. Where are you going? Nowhere far. God has not filled you up yet. He has not moved through his vessel yet. People playing games want to lay out because they want to hold on to their devils. People fake you out at the altar. They pretend to fall out to hold on to their spirits. So you actually don't really cast them out. But it takes a real apostle and prophet to know that.
That's right.
Okay, you playing around. So I'm going to leave you right there on the floor with all your devils that you want to keep. And move on to the next person. I said, you can do that? Now, isn't that something? I had no... Okay. But apostles are supposed to be the stronger man. Guarding the house, guarding the palace, stripping off the enemy. Fully armed, okay? And you have to overcome him and take from him his armor in which he trusted. Yes. Most people are not stronger than the darkness that we're facing. We have yet to fight darkness. Right now we're just facing it. And we think because we're facing it that we're fighting it. And that's not true. Last thought. Apostles are the Lord's chief defenders and the kingdom's equivalent of spiritual or principalic strongholds. Apostles are the Lord's chief what? Defenders. They take their jobs very seriously. And they understand the temptation to blow it off and play it off and brush it off and not take it seriously. You don't want people to conform to the standard because they might stop coming. That's a real pressure leaders face. I mean, hey, people hold the purse strings, right? Which is why when you are an apostle, like ours is, the ones as we have, we're going to start with you don't run this church. God does, through us. Just like a strong household. Now, little boy, little girl, let me tell you something. You don't run this household. But you can grow up and pay your own bills and do your own thing. But this is where God is today. This is the conclusion of just this portion of why you want an apostle in your life. You want an apostle in your life to defend you against these powers of wickedness. You want apostles for other reasons, which we will get into. That was just the opening act of Unit 2 of why you want an apostle in your life. Clarity, direction, Christ identity. Apostles craft your Christ identity. A lot of times we're looking for our purpose, but we don't have our identity in Christ. I just don't know why I just keep bouncing around all over the place. I never seem to land because you haven't landed in your Christ identity yet. So you don't know what you're doing for him because you don't know who you are in him. Amen? Amen. Can you give God a praise? Yes. Come on, can you give God a praise? Can you give God a praise? All right. He is faithful in this house today, and I bless him. I bless him for being God. You go ahead and shift into communion. I bless him for being